A sacrifice is a sacrifice. What does the Quran tell them? If someone does not believe, does not follow the way of jihad, the way of the Quran teaches them to do, they are to be killed. What's that word they have for us? Infidels. They are infidels. Kill the infidels. Cut their heads off. As a sacrifice to Allah. Cut head off, sacrifice to Allah. Day of sacrifice. I'm sorry. That's what my mind goes to. Must be ISIS running over there, cutting people's heads off to Allah, and it's not even the day of sacrifice. What if they're just rounding them up for one big sacrifice and just giving like little tidbits, 10 here, 5 there, 30 there, But we have a bunker with a couple thousand, and then we're going to slaughter them all at once on the day of sacrifice. I don't know. You know what? It could be a day of peace for even ISIS. Might take the day off and not kill nobody. And slaughter a lamb for a change. I don't know. It's one of those things that makes my mind think. September 23rd and 24th. CERN plans to fire up the Hadron Collider again. Full strength. The actual mathematical equivalent is they will be somewhere between double and triple the power of what it was last time. Who else knows what else they're doing at CERN? And I highly doubt you have this information. Ever heard of Sesame? You heard about Sesame. It's hard to find information on Sesame because the Ray or Roy or whatever his name is, he's gone underground. He disappeared. He had this information up on it, and the guy who was covering the information came back and stated that basically it's been password protected. It's been encrypted, locked down. So if you don't have the username and password, you can't access the PDF anymore. I'm going to give you, because the information is so limited, I'm going to tell you what I can about it. Okay? CERN has an objective this year. The objective is to use the CERN Hadron Collider to open portals, or stargates, or doorways into alternate universes. That is their goal. The great and mighty atheist lover, or lover of atheists, or however you want to phrase that. Every atheist adores Stephen Hawking. He is their God on earth, as far as gods on an earth could possibly go. And Stephen Hawking has said, this is a bad idea. This isn't smart. You shouldn't do this. Now, when the Alpha Supreme Holy Atheist of all atheists says, this is stupid, you'd think they'd listen. But you know what? They can't. There's a purpose for this. Nobody disregards what Stephen Hawking says in the science world. If Stephen Hawking made an appearance at CERN, he would be applauded. There would be palms on the ground. He'd be traipsing over. Rolling over. Traipsing, rolling, whatever. And yet, they're utterly ignoring him. Now to Sesame. Think outside of the seed and tell me what comes to mind when you think of Sesame. Anybody? No. Oh, I forgot about the street. I did not think about Sesame Street at all. That did not occur to me. Yes, Open Sesame. The program is called Sesame. It is the unification of all the scientists in all of Europe gathering together for this event to fire up this Hadron Collider at 2-3 times its original power, to collide more particles together than ever, in an attempt to open Sesame up to all Europe. To open portals and doorways so that maybe something can come through, or maybe they can send something through. Let me tell you right now, folks, you ain't sending nothing through no portal if you manage to open it. And if you manage to open it, you're going to wish to God whatever comes out of that portal would not have. Honestly, will God let them get that far to open a portal? No. No. Not unless it falls within His time frame for His purpose, for His glory. That is the only way He will allow it. I've never seen a scripture that says nothing about any opening of any doorways except in Revelation. That happens during the tribulation period, at least somewhere in the ballpark of the 1/3 to halfway time frame. It's not time for that yet. Maybe they'll fail this time, but maybe next time they won't. Maybe that key to the door to the bottomless pit was the instruction on how to build the CERN Hadron Collider. Maybe that's what the key is. This is not fact. This is an opinion. This is not even an opinion. This is a plausible possibility based on what we know and what they're trying to do. So many times people want to see coincidence and chance and things. I'm sorry. I live in a world that is dictated and governed by a supreme God, the creator of all heavens and earth and everything within the bounds of the universe as far as we can see. That's 100 billion galaxies. He created it all. And you know what? There ain't no chance in nothing. There are no coincidences. You're absolutely right. Okay. By show of hands, how many people in here love Madonna? How many people in here like Madonna? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm pleased to see no hands go up. She has some interesting outfits and hats. Yes, she does. Who knows about Madonna's tour? Other than Debbie. Apparently Debbie's well studied. Okay, Madonna has a tour going on right now. Her tour is called the Rebel Heart Tour. Her opening act is called Desecration of the Bride, Fallen Angels. Huh? Arrival, yes, I'm sorry. Arrival of the Fallen Angels. What's a fallen angel? In the Bible, we call them the Nephilim. So it's Desecration of the Bride, the arrival of the Nephilim on her Rebel Heart Tour. Now, have you gone and looked at the videos of it? A couple of them? The one where she's crucified on the cross? Yeah. There's another one where her opening scene, which her opening scene is called Desecration of the Bride. It has a man, a Hebrew man, quoting Hebrew. I know enough about Hebrew to know it when I hear it. Speaking traditional Hebrew. He's speaking scriptures. And once he's done, the stage goes mostly black. And then you see what looks to be a tearing of a cloth, like a veil. And then you see a wall crumble to the ground, the breaking down of strongholds. And then you see in this cage ascends from the ceiling, and the curtain pulls back, and there's a veiled bride. We all know the bride's Madonna, honestly. Who else would it be? Madonna steps out of her cage with the help from her cronies and begins her little bump and grind, groin, getting after it dance routine, singing her song. And that big screen background, you see fire fall, you see Christ fall, you see the cross fall, and you finally see angels descend from where it is they came from. This is not okay. But you know what? How many Christians out there love Madonna? They sit there, they're bearing witness to her Rebel Heart Tour, and they are oblivious to what they're seeing. I tell you what, when you watch the videos, you look it up, if something does not stir in the very core of your being, saying there's something wrong with what I'm seeing, your spirit is dead, and it does not acknowledge what it's seeing. You have starved your spirit to death, that you can no longer distinguish good from evil. Yeah. It should. There's something wrong. And I haven't heard one peep from the church about it. Not one. Oh, it gets better. I'm not done yet. The Pope. It's the Pope's turn. The Pope is to address the United States Congress on September 24th. It is the first time in history no pope has ever come to the U.S., went to a session of Congress, and addressed them. It has never happened. It's in a really odd place right now. Okay, it's about 3-4 feet too far forward, that's why. It's heavier than my stand. How is this significant? Honestly, it depends on what the man says. And since he hasn't said nothing yet, I couldn't tell you. But you know what? I know it's happening the day after he addresses Congress. And I'm using that as my guidelines as to what he's going to say to our Congress. September 25th, the Pope is going to do two things. He's going to address the United Assembly, the UN Assembly of World Leaders. His topic is called Sustainable Development. What is sustainable development? It is the topic that addresses world economics, world religion, world currency. That is the point. Everybody else know what he's going to do also after he addresses those topics? Yes, but that's later. That's somewhere else. At the UN Assembly, he's going to do one other very significant thing. Who here knows what an encyclical is? That's the key. Not that he's going to go up there and state his opinion. The Pope is going to issue an encyclical. Now, an encyclical is a Catholic deal. When the Pope issues an encyclical, it is from the Catholic belief God-breathed and infallible. It is beyond error. So anytime the Pope gives an encyclical, whatever he says is to be taken as if God came down from heaven and said it to your face. So if the Pope promotes abortion in an encyclical, it becomes doctrine. If he promotes homicide in an encyclical, it becomes doctrine. If he promotes homosexuality in an encyclical, it becomes doctrine. Do you get the point? Does everyone understand here? Whatever he says in his encyclical, every Roman Catholic on the planet is going to take as doctrine. I am terrified at what he's going to say. He's what? We'll talk about that later. I got too much to go on. We'll have that conversation later, definitely. You online don't even know what she said. Doesn't matter. Yet. And following that encyclical and addressing of the UN, he's going to have a mass at Madison Square Garden. What happens 8 days before the Pope has his mass? What happens 8 days prior in the same place? 17th and 18th Rebel Heart Tours. So, unintentionally, as I'm making notes, as I'm studying this stuff, the thought, is Madonna getting the masses ready for the Mass? The Pope was addressing the Madison Square Garden on the 25th. Then the Pope is to visit the Church of Philadelphia. Now, I have not as of yet been able to determine how that's significant, but if the Pope put it on his agenda to go to the Church of Philadelphia, it probably has some significant meaning. The thoughts and theories are that it could be another encyclical to the masses instead of to the UN. I don't know. Could not tell you. Now, the last thing on here, we're going to go back to the Muslims briefly. And I'm going to tell you what I wrote down. And I wrote, Muslim clerics predict that the return of the Mahdi will happen in September 2015. In September, don't know when. The prediction is that just before the return of the Mahdi, listen to this, a tall black man will arise and take control of the West and will command the most powerful army on the planet. That sound familiar to anybody?